Good day, learners! Welcome to 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the world. Before we dive into our official discussion, let us have first our emotional check-in. What do you feel at this very moment? I want you to pick any emoji or emoticon that will represent your emotions and share it on the chat box or comment box together with the reason why you chose that emoji. Thank you so much for sharing your emotions at this moment. To formally begin our discussion, let us have first an activity. This is entitled Riddles or Bugtong Bugtong 101 with a twist. I'll be flashing and at the same time reading the following statements, and what you're going to do is to guess what is the correct answer. Note as well, class, that the riddles are in Filipino, but the twist of this activity, your answer should be in English. Once again, note that the riddles are in Filipino, but your answer should be in English. Are you all ready? Then let's begin. First riddle. Kay lapit-lapit na sa mata, di mo pa rin makita. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is ears, or simply an ear. Dala mo, dala ka ng iyong dala. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is shoes. Malambot na parang ulap, kasama ako sa pangangarap. The correct answer is a pillow. Second to the last riddle, isang butil ng palay, sakop ang buong bahay. Correct answer is a light bulb. Or simply a light. Or a bulb. And lastly, hindi pari, hindi hari, nagdadamit ng sari-sari. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is a butterfly. Now class, in line with our activity, let us answer the following questions. First, did you enjoy the activity? Why? Feel free to share your answer using our comment box below. Number 2, how did you find out the answer? Explain. Number 3, is riddle a literature? Why or why not? And lastly, what do you know about Philippine literature? Once again, feel free to indicate all your answers in our Google chat box or simply our comment box below. For today's topic in 21st century literature is all about history of Philippine literature. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to identify the geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimensions of Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to contemporary. Show a sense of adaptability of the history of Philippine literature and demonstrate understanding and appreciation of history of Philippine literature through creative forms using multimedia, specifically video presentation. Once again, these are the following objectives that we should accomplish at the end of our lesson. Here's our table of contents for this lesson. First, we'll be dealing with introduction to literature. Second, I'll be introducing you to geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimension of Philippine literature. Third, the history of Philippine literature. And lastly, I'll be explaining your activities and of course, set of questions that you need to answer as we go on with our discussion. First top, we have Introduction to Literature. Of course, we need to define first what is literature for us to dig deeper the significance of this said concept. It says here that literature comes from the Latin word litera, which means writing formed with letters. Britannica also defines literature as a body of writing belonging to a given language or people. Moreover, Cambridge Dictionary defines literature as written artistic works, especially those with a high and lasting artistic value. In addition, class, literature is a term used to describe written and sometimes spoken material. It is most commonly refers to works of the creative imagination, including poetry, drama, fiction, non-fiction, and in some instances, journalism. Now, learners, let us differentiate geographic, linguistic, and ethnic. When we say geographic, it refers to belonging on a particular, let's say, region or location. So typically, it's a specific place, okay? It has something to do with specific location or place. And at the same time, class, we do have here the word or the terminology linguistic. When we say linguistic, it has something to do with the language, no? Language form or language use. And lastly, we have here the word ethnic. Ethnic pertains to a characteristic of a group of people sharing common culture, religion, tradition, belief, no, language, and such. So that's it. We have geographic, linguistic, ethnic that play a vital role in developing a certain literary piece. Always remember, class, that the locations, language used, and the people who originally created of the following literary works and representative text in the Philippines. But you know what? My question here right now is, do you know any period in history of the Philippines? Or do you know any period in history of Philippine literature? If you know something, or if you know a bit, or if you have a bit idea about it, then kindly share your answer using our comment box below. So let us proceed to the second content of our lesson. It is all about history of Philippine literature. Let us have first the pre-colonial period. So this is existed before the Spanish occupation in the 1500s. And it is oral in nature and is full of lessons and ideas about life, its blessings, and even its consequences. It contains ideas from birth to the grave. In addition, class, in pre-colonial, in the Philippine context, no matter how it may be considered as, altered or modified, pre-colonial literature still referred to by many Filipinos. And the sources are usually the local native town folk. That's why we have folk songs, we have folk tales, and such. Now we'll be discussing more about the pre-colonial period. We have here the different literary forms during pre-colonial period. It is divided into three. So we have oral literature, folk songs, and folk tales. Let's have the oral literature. It is a literature that is spoken. It should be in a form of verbal communication. Both pala, verbal and non-verbal communication, since it is being conveyed, being shared, no, through the use of our speech, our mouth, no, to propagate the message, to share the message, the moral of the said literature or literary piece. Other than that, we have folk songs. In Filipino terminology, we called it awiting bayan. That's it. It is a song that originates in traditional popular culture or that is written in such a style. And we do have a lot of folk songs, of course. And if you're still familiar with the following folk songs, then feel free to comment it using our comment chat box. Later, I'll be giving you as well several examples of it. And lastly, we have folk tales or kwentong bayan. It is a story that originates popular culture, typically passed on by the word of mouth. More on oral form ito isinare class. More on through the use of mouth by simply narrating or telling it to other people. In oral literature, we can categorize them under the following. First, we have riddles, otherwise known as bugtong in Filipino terminology. These are statements that contain superficial words, but they function figuratively and as metaphors and are in the term of questions. Though it is in the form of question, still, statement lang yung kanyang pinaka-construction. And if you noticed earlier, no, we had an activity about that. So it's an example of what we call oral literature. That's why, in order for you to answer it, aside from reading it in your own, I, myself, no, was able to share it. I have read it in order for you to guess the correct answer. Other than riddles, we do also have proverbs as an example of oral literature. So just like riddles, it is also a statement, a statement as well, or these are the statements rather that considered as wise. Now these are usually given by elderlies or elders, parents of the community, and there is a belief that this help people to be wiser enough in taking decisions and such. For example, there is a belief that the experience is the best teacher. So that statement is an example of what we call a proverbs or a proverb. Other examples of oral literature under bugtong and salawikain, we have the following examples. In bugtong-bugtong or riddle, we have isa ang pasukan, tatlo ang labasan. Then the correct answer for that one, figuratively dinedescribe is yung kasuotan, no, or damit, simply a clothes, right? Another example under salawikain this time are proverbs. Kung ano ang puno, siya ang bunga. So, that's it. A simple statement, yet it has a huge impact, no, towards the people na nakaka-receive ng mensahe and so on. We're done already with the oral literature. Now, let's proceed with the folk songs or awiting bayan. And we have here 5 folk songs, no, 5 categories of folk songs. We have here first lullabies. In Filipino terminology, we call it hele. So these are songs to put babies to sleep. One of the famous lullabies that we have here in the Philippines is the Ili-Ili. If you're familiar with that, actually, if I'm not mistaken, may dialect, a specific dialect na ginamit for that, and also meron ding Tagalog version of it. So that's it. Next one, we have drinking songs or tagay in Filipino terminology. So these are songs during drinking sessions. We are not pertaining about the videoke session, but this one is more on a traditional type of drinking songs to celebrate, to acknowledge the things that they have gained or accomplished. So it's a form of celebrating something or kung ano man yung nag-gain nila during that day. Of course, we do have love songs or harana. So these are used by young men to capture the heart of the girl that they love. Number 4, we do have songs of death. Songs of death are lamentations that contain the role of good deeds that the dead has usually done to immortalize his or her good image. And sa mga probinsya, mga baryo, they still, even here sa cities or sa city, na meron at meron pa ding nag-present or nagpe-perform ng ganito. Most especially those people na talagang naging part na ng kanilang kaugalian. Okay? And even paniniwala. Lastly, we do have here religious songs. We are not pertaining to hill songs or worship songs since we are talking about pre-colonial, right? So here, class, in religious songs, these are songs or chants that are usually given during exorcisms and Thanksgiving during good harvest. All in all, these are folk lyrics that are usually chanted. Once again, we have folk songs. It contains ideas, aspirations, hopes, everyday life experiences, expressions of love for loved ones. So it is bounded as well with good morals, or let's say moral rather. It is bounded by the learning of good morals. And at the same time, it is easier to understand because unlike bugtong and salawikain, this one is straightforward and not figurative in nature. So it's like a simple chant or song that simply depicts your purpose as a singer, no? This is part of the tradition ng ating mga ancestors that still nagre-reflect up until this moment. We're done with oral literature and folk songs. Now, let's have folk tales. Now, folk tales, we have 4 here. We have myths or mytholohiya. We have legends, alamat, fables, pabula, epics, epiko. These are stories of native Filipinos that deals with the power of nature, personified, for example, in mythology or in myths, no? It has something to do with the natural and strange occurrences of the earth. How was the earth formed, and the submission of deities or the gods and goddesses. No? But we are talking about Philippine literature, not the Greek ones, okay, or the Roman ones. But yeah, so usually class here in the Philippines, we have what we call Bathala, and they believe na this one is the supreme, no? Pinaniwalaan na ito yung pinaka-supreme. Okay, so that's it. Si Bathala, no, ay isang Of course, a deity or a god who is responsible for the blessings and other provisions na kinakailangan, safety, and many more. No, that's what we call, that is under mythology. Actually, there's a lot more about myths, most especially here in the Philippines. These also tackle class in myths or mythology. These also tackle about the irresponsibility that eventually leads to instilling of good morals. Actually, sa lahat naman ng folktales, right? Next, we do have legends or alamat in Filipino terminology. It is a story, no? Natives understood mystery around them. This is a story that talks more about how or where things came from. Saan nanggaling? No, alamat. Third, we have fables or pabula. It is a brief story that caters children of the native. And of course, in fables, the main characters are animals, or the characters are animals instead of human. Because it is a way of instilling dun sa mga bata pa lamang na to learn a lot of good deeds, no? Gamit itong mga stories na ito. And lastly, we have epics. This contain encounters of fighter, stereotypical prince or heroes that save a damsel in distress. And usually, class, kapag epic kong pinag-uusapan or epics, no, the main character has this, let's say, distinct characteristic na very kakaiba, no, very different na talagang hindi na siya makatotohanan, no? Malayo na siya sa reality. So we call it the supernatural powers that they possess or supernatural beings and so on. So it has something to do as well with heroism, no, kabayanihan sa kabila ng kapangyarihan, hindi siya naging sa kapangyarihan niya o yung kakaibang kakayahan, hindi siya naging conflict, no, or hindi siya naging banta sa lugar na iyon. Instead, naging good character siya. Okay? So, usual themes for the following folktales, of course, aside from the ceremonies needed to appease the deities, you can also say, connect to it the pre- and post-apocalypse, life and death, gods and goddesses, no, heroes and heroines, supernatural beings, animals, and so on. Very creative, very imaginative, and very convincing kasi the authors may use the different styles in writing in order for them to deliver a good story. Here are other examples under myths, legends, fables, and epics. So we have here the first image. As you can see, a man and a woman, otherwise known as si Malakas at si Maganda. So, counterpart nito, class, yung story, no, yung Bible story under Adam and Eve. Now, it's a story that tells about the origin of mankind. Kanino nagmula. So, this one. In Philippine literature, siyempre kinikilala yung si Malakas at si Maganda. Okay, so that's under myths or mythology. Now here, class, in legend, one of the famous legends in Philippine literature is the legend of pineapple, o ang alamat ng pinya. Okay, so nagmula yun, and ano yung naging aral sa story. Next, we have one of the famous fables in the Philippines. Of course, none other than the turtle and the monkey. Okay? We do have English version of it, and at the same time, Tagalog. Okay? Lastly, part of epics, isa sa pinakatanyag, no, na epiko sa Ilocos region. if I'm not mistaken, ito ay si Lamang, or yung complete title ng epiko na ito ay Biyag ni Lamang. So this are the following examples, additional examples about the different folktales that we have. And actually, I believe, class, that you also have a lot of ideas, no, in terms of giving some examples pa under folktales. We're done already with the pre-colonial period, so let's proceed to the Spanish colonial. Refers to the start of the Philippines' more colorful history took place on March 6, 1521, when Ferdinand Magellan docked on the shores of Homonhon. The Filipinos way back then were then called Ladinos, meaning they were Latinized. That was the claim of the Spaniards way back then. And Filipinos were called two things. One is the Tagabayan, while the other is Tagabukid or Tagabundok. Now, let's have this time the literary forms. Here we have 4. Earlier, we only have 3 in pre-colonial, but this time in Spanish colonial, we have 4. Divided into religious literature, secular literature, propaganda literature, and revolutionary literature. When we say religious literature, it revolves around the life and death of Jesus Christ. Since we're talking about religious literature, that means it has something to do with the religion. And as we all know, when Spaniards came, they introduced to the Filipino people their religion, which is the Roman Catholic. That's why in religious literature, it's more on the life and death of Jesus Christ. Now, let's have, class, the second literary form. It's all about secular literature. Here, it revolves around the tales of valiance and adventure. Later, I'll be giving more examples about this in order for you to understand it better. Third, we have propaganda literature. These were in the forms of satires, editorials, and news articles that aim to attack the Spanish rule. I'll be introducing as well the person behind the propaganda literature. Now, let's have this time the revolutionary literature. It exposes the spark of revolution and resistance in the hearts of Filipinos. To learn more better about religious literature, let me introduce the following concepts. We have here passion, cenaculo, and komedya. When we say passion, class, it is about the passion and the death of Jesus Christ, otherwise known as the journey and suffering of Jesus Christ. So it is performed in a way of a song. So merong copy, and then they need to recite it in the form of a song. And usually, it is being performed during mahal na araw. Okay? And that's it. And dapat matapos nyong awitin iyon before Easter Sunday. That's the goal. Ayan. Ganun kasi yung madalas na naging tradition sa amin, no? Next thing, we have what we call cenaculo. It is about the reenactment or parang ni-role play yung passion. So, kapag ganun na ang sistema, we called it cenaculo. Once again, it is the reenactment of passion, and we called it cenaculo. So, these are the things or happenings na napanood or napapanood natin kapag mahal na araw. Diba, there were people or let's say specific province kung saan wherein napapabalita na may ilang mga Filipino ang talagang nagre-reenact ng pagpapakasakit. Yung nagpapahampas sa likod, and at the same time, yung nagpapapako sa cross. So that's what we call cenaculo. Lastly, we do have here komedya. That's it. It depicts the European society through love and fame, and it can be also a narrative about a journey, no? Considered as part din ng religious, or let's say religion instead of religious, because it usually depicts the battle, no, between Christians and Moros. And just to give you a trivia, no, one of the famous, I think, komedya, no, sa buong mundo ay yung Divine Comedy ni Dante Alighieri. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you can check the details about it. Kayo na lang ang mag-check in your own if you want to learn more about Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Okay, so now let us have the secular literature. We have here Ibong Adarna and Florante at Laura. So perhaps hindi na masyado kayo parang bago, no, in terms of the following literary pieces. Because I believe when you were in junior high school, you were able to study and at the same time learn something, no? Learn a lot from the following literature, Ibong Adarna and Florante at Laura. So we can simply define, or let's say categorize Ibong Adarna and Florante at Laura as it's either, no, not either, but corrido si Ibong Adarna and considered as awit si Florante at Laura. So why awit, no? Why it is considered as awit si Florante at Laura? So typically, class, these are tales of chivalry where a knight saves a princess. As you can see sa cover pa lang ng book natin, talagang tinataglay niya na yung characteristic, no, ng isang awit. And you know what? This one is constructed or created, no, in a form of a poetry. But nowadays, we can buy books or we can read books na kung saan hindi na siya sa paraan ng patula, but in a form of a prose. Perhaps yung mga ganong books na nag-offer ng pa-prose na paraan na i-deliver yung story ay mga buod na lamang or summary. But yeah, way back then when I was in high school, talagang ang material na ipinagamit or ipinabasa sa amin ay pa-form siya, or in yung form niya rather ay poetry. Now that's why whenever we read, no, it talagang may tono, no, talagang may punto. That's it. Now, Ibong Adarna is considered as an example under corrido. Why is it? Because here, class, when we say corrido, it has something to do with a specific metrical tale or tale that follows structure of a poem. So that's it. May structure na sinusunod. That's why it is considered as corrido. That's it. Under secular literature. Now, let's have the propaganda literature. I know you're familiar already with the following persons flashed here sa ating PowerPoint presentation. We have Graciano Lopez Haina, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Jose Rizal. I'll be introducing to you all the famous, let's say, literary pieces that they created to support this propaganda literature. Now, in line with the literary piece created by Graciano Lopez Haina, one of the famous literary pieces that he created ay ang tinatawag nating Ang Fray Botod. So it was written in Iloilo taong 1876, now 6 years after the Cavite Revolt na attacking the friars in the Philippines. So here in his akda, or let's say literary piece, Ang Fray Botod, he successfully exposed how some of the friars were greedy, ambitious, and immoral. So this is part of propaganda, let's say, literature, because they were doing their best to, syempre, to hear yung kanilang hinaing, to hear their viewpoint about what was happening during that time. Aside from Graciano Lopez Jaena, we have Plaridel or Marcelo H. del Pilar, one of his famous literary pieces that nag-exist, no? That existed way back. And still existing, no? May mga copies pa din na makikita at mababasa tayo ngayon, is yung Kaiingat Kayo or Be Careful. So it's a humorous and sarcastic dig and answer to Father Jose Burgos in the novel Noli Me Tangere of Jose Rizal, now published in Barcelona 1888. So Marcelo H. del Pilar, aside from using Plaridel, he used as well Dolores Manapat as his pen name nung sinulat niya yung Kaiingat Kaayo or Be Careful. Now, why did he create that, let's say, literary piece? So, one way din yun ni Marcelo to defend Rizal, no, about dun nga sa naging respond ni Father Jose Rodriguez, no, upon after reading the said controversial novel Noli Me Tangere by Jose Rizal. And of course, we do have our very own national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. In propaganda literature, we can simply say, and at the same time proudly say, that makukonect natin dito yung kanyang novel, Noli Me Tangere. So it was the novel that graced the spirit to the propaganda movement and paved the way to the revolution against Spain. In this book, he courageously exposed the evils in the Spanish government in the Philippines. So naging buwelo din to, no, ng iba pang mga manunulat para maipamulat ang tunay, the real situation way back then. We're done with the propaganda literature. Now let's proceed to the revolutionary literature. And I'll be introducing to you all the following persons or other heroes as well that contributed a lot with the said literature. We have Andres Bonifacio. He created Obligations of Our Countrymen. That's the title. In Tagalog, it is translated into Katungkulang Gagawin ng Mga Anak ng Bayan. So typically, it is an outline of obligations, just like what we know about 10 Commandments. And likewise, it is being called Ang Decalogo. That was written by Andres Bonifacio. One way to support his countrymen and to make them feel way back then na talagang they need to defend their country, their motherland. Of course, we do have Emilio Jacinto. He created, or he wrote Liwanag at Dilim or Light and Darkness. It is a collection of essays or sanaysay on different subjects like freedom, work, faith, government, and love of country. Of course, we do have Apolinario Mabini. El Desarrollo y Caída de la República Filipina was the literary piece that he created, no, in line with the revolutionary period way back then. So in English, it is being translated as The Rise and Fall of the Philippine Republic. And actually, class, this essay highlights the establishment of the Philippine Republic and its subsequent doom. Although, nakapag-start na to establish Philippine Republic, they faced what? Disunity among kapwa Filipinos. And of course, our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, na in line with the revolutionary literature, ang talagang naging meet siya, no? Of course, ng nasabing revolution na yung mabalitaan nila na si Rizal ay masisintensyahan and so on, o nasintensyahan na, right? So, el filibusterismo ang siyang bumuo ng kalakasan ng kalooban ng mga Filipino to fight against Spaniards. So, way back then, of course, El Fili, ipinagbabawal siya na mabasa ng kahit sino man. Kung sino yung mahuhuli nito ay talagang paparusahan. But you know what? El Filibusterismo is the sequel or karugtong ng Noli Me Tangere. While the Noli Me Tangere exposed the evils in society, the El Filibusterismo exposed naman those in the government and in the church. No? And that's it. That is all about revolutionary literature. Now let's have American colonial. The literature during the American period was considered as imitative of American model. Instead of asking the students to write originals, students ended up following the form of American poets. The Philippines had a great leap in education and culture. The use of English alongside Filipino was practiced, and the Philippines public school system as well was introduced. Dito din natin class na-meet yung ating kauna-unahang teachers na ang mga Thomasites. Free public instruction was given to the Filipinos. So dito we had that opportunity na talagang makapag receive ng education. No? Unlike nung Spanish colonial, talagang kapag ka may alam ka, tutulig sa inka, just like Rizal, no? Ayaw ng mga Espanyol na tayo matuto way back then because alam nila na kapag natuto ang mga Indio, malalaman nila na mali yung trato sa kanila ng mga dayuhan. So, lalaban sila. Kung kaya galit sila sa mga marurunong, sa mahuhusay, kagaya ni na Rizal, Del Pilar, at marami pang mga Filipino propagandistas and other writers way back then. Now, let's have the literary forms in American colonial. We have poetry, drama, and remake novels. In poetry, of course, it is followed the style of the old or the traditional ones, but had contents that range from free writing to societal under the Americans. Other than poetry, we have also drama. It was usually used in the American period to degrade the Spanish rule and immortalize the heroism of the men who fought under the Katipunan. That's the drama. And of course, when we are talking about drama, hindi, sa panahon natin ngayon kasi even television, makaka-witness tayo. But way back then, sa panahon ng ating mga ancestors, they used to present their presentation or performance sa isang dula ang pang-entablado. May stage, kumbaga, no? Lastly, we have here remake novels, took up Dr. Jose Rizal's portrayal of societal or social conditions by colonial repression. So we can simply say, class, that the authors can intertextualize or derive their original form of, let's say, any literary piece dun sa naging pinaglalaban or naging punto de vista ni Dr. Jose Rizal. Okay? Let's have poetry as a literary form under American colonial. Just like what I have said a while ago, it still followed the style of the old ones or the traditional type, but had the contents that ranged from free writing to societal under the Americans. And one of the famous author na talagang known about this literary form is none other than Jose Corazon de Jesus, also known as Huseng Batute. So, yan. Sa kanya nagmula, class, yung Patnugot na sa Dakong Silangan, published in 1928. It's a return to the awit from retelling the history of Philippines under Spain, the coming of US under the guise friendship to take over from Spain. So, more on the experiences, happened about the colonization mula sa mga Espanyol hanggang sa mga Amerikano. So, in the form of a poetry to, mga anak, or patula, no? So, that was created by Jose Corazon de Jesus or Hussein Batute. Next, we have drama. Just like what I have mentioned earlier, it was usually used in the American period to degrade the Spanish rule and to immortalize the heroism of the men who fought under the Katipunan. And one of the best Filipino, let's say, dramatists no way back then, kilala si Severino Reyes. He was the one who spearheaded a movement to supplant the komedya with a new type of drama. And we called it Zarzuela, no? And actually, it's a Filipino adaptation, di ba? Parang intertextuality, right? Merong adaptation, derivation. No, from the Spanish Zarzuela. And one of the famous Zarzuela created by Severino Reyes is none other than Walang Sugat. It was published in 1902, a drama in the form of singing. Of course, theatrical yung dating nito, class. Okay? So it was drawn from the period of Revolution, depicting or simply showing the cruelty and corruption of Spanish friars, and at the same time, the heroism of the soldiers of the Katipunan. So once again, drama, Walang Sugat by Severino Reyes. Last literary form under American colonial, we do have remake novels. Just like what I have said, it's a derivation of Dr. Jose Rizal's portrayal, most especially about social conditions, social concerns, no, by colonial repression. And one of the famous author, best known about his trilogy, no, we have here Gabriel Beato Francisco. He created the trilogy of Fulgencia Galbillo, published in 1907, Capitan Bencio 1907 as well, and Alfaro 1909, depicting the 30 years colonial repression by the Spanish rule. And of course, we have here the Madaling Araw, no, published in 1909. So that was the cover of the book. It was his first novel showing the complex interrelations of issues and people, contemporary Philippine society. Commonly class, no, bakit hinighlight natin ito? Kasi ito yung mga akda na kung saan nag-derive, no, doon sa ipinaglalaban ni Dr. Jose Rizal. So, parang in a form of intertextuality. But, not totally, no, the whole output of Rizal. Only, ang pinaka-highlight dito is yung kung ano yung tema ng sulat or patnugot ni Dr. Jose Rizal. Kumbaga, dun lang nag-derive itong mga author na ito or yung mga akda na ito. Now, let's have this time the Japanese colonial. Right after American, of course, we were colonized by the Japanese people or Japanese invaders. So here, class, Japanese censored Filipino writers' work strictly. There was minimal freedom of speech and of the press, and you were not allowed during that time to talagang magsabi, no, directly sa kanilang gobyerno ng masasamang salita kung ayaw mong maparusahan. So typically, class, in this period, the Japanese banned English newspapers. Not only newspapers, but also references, books, and other, let's say, papers na talagang may kaugnayan sa mga English people. Just like what I've said, there was minimal freedom of speech and of the press. Japanese censored Filipino writers' work strictly, and at the same time, theaters were used to show English play translated into Filipino. They still allowed Filipino to perform sa mga teatro, but they are not allowed. Filipinos were not allowed during that time to use English as medium of instruction way back then. That's it. Now, in line with the literary forms under Japanese colonial, I don't know if you can still remember these concepts, but yeah, we have here haiku, tanaga, and of course other usual form of literary forms under Japanese colonial. When we say haiku, it is a poem or a tula, no, of a three-verse that the Japanese like. It is made up of 17 syllables divided into 3 lines. So, yung mga pantig is 5-7. Ang bilang ng pantig ay 5-7-5. May tatlong taludtod, may 5-7-5 na pantig or syllables. It is allegorical in meaning, short, and covers a wide scope in meaning. Once again, we have haiku. Next, we do have Tanaga, our very own. It is a poem or a poem composed of 4 lines, with each line having 7 syllables. Just like haiku, it is short, however, it has measure and rhyme. No? It is written either sa iba't ibang rhyming pattern. It could be A, or AABB, or it could be ABBA, or ABAB. So we need to, of course, consider the rhythmic pattern, no, in order for us to successfully create a tanaga or a poem, no, under tanaga. Later, I'll be giving you an example in order for you to understand it better. Lastly, we do have usual form, also known as karaniwang anyo, the usual and common form of poetry. That's it. Here are the examples of haiku and tanaga. On the left side, you will see here that we have a 5-7-5 3-line with 5-7-5 syllables. That's it. On the right side, we have here in the form of tanaga. However, if you're going to count it individually, you will notice that the syllables are 7-7-6-7. So the only way to address yung certain error about this saknong or English stanza, then you may revise it by simply replacing or modifying wala siyang sinasanto. You need to use apostrophe to, what do you call that one? To contract the word, to make it a bit shorter. No? Instead of saying walang sinasantoy, we can simply revise this into wala siyang sinasantoy. Remember, yung siyang doon ay contracted. In order for us to appropriately have 7-7-7 syllables. That's it. Now try to count if sumasakto siya. Okay, class, so let's have a quick activity about and how to write a poem. So this one is a per house activity. I'll be giving you the link for our Padlet. And what you're going to do as a group is to write a free verse poem. The topic is anything under the sun. It's up to you on what specific theme you will be using. But the thing is that you are going to create one stanza consisting of 4 lines, a free verse poem. Once again, 4 lines is equivalent to 1 stanza, and it should be in a free verse poem. Okay? So each house members are expected to write a line that would form a poem. Don't forget to include the list of your members, your house, and your section in our Padlet space. Okay, so good job for creating your own free verse poems. Now, let's proceed to the last part of our discussion. It's all about contemporary period. In this period, there are a lot of literary innovations, integrations that are adapted and created by Filipinos. There are a lot of new forms from the basic genres of literature, thus proving how far it will go on from here. Nowadays, class, even those who do not have any significant literary background, they can make their own way, no, using the freedom that they have to write and to express. And actually, we can simply write and express our perspective sa isang papel, but we can also use other platforms. Nowadays, people tend to use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms wherein they are able to express another perspective about a certain topic or issue. So that's it. More on advanced tayo, more on innovation, integration, and of course, very creative tayo as we deliver our insights. Now, class, to give you examples under contemporary literature, we have here the following books that perhaps you're familiar already. We have here Aba Nakababasa na pala ako by Bob Ong, Stupid is Forever by late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, Isang Daang Tula para kay Estela, and lastly, we have Diary ng Pangit by, Have You Seen This Girl, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, Have You Seen This Girl? So these literary works created within the last 2 decades, that's why we consider them under contemporary literature. And there's a lot of lit pa na nag-exist and mag-exist pa lang. Okay, at the same time, it has something to do with imaginative, creative writing. Deals with current or napapanahong tema or theme, reflects technological culture, advancement of many tools na meron na tayo, and it often breaks traditional writing. Kung before, more on text lang, nowadays, authors tend to insert sketches, na minimal drawings, and they tend to give effort talaga, no, about the cover page of their book. Kasi readers also consider yung itsura ng pabalat or cover, right? And at the same time, it traces artistic representation of shared and familiar experiences. The more that your readers, no, can relate dun sa pinaka-plot ng kwento or sa pinagdadaanan ng main character, then the more din na they will consider the said book. That's it. And that ends our lesson for this day. I hope you were able to grasp something about our lesson. If you have questions or clarification, feel free to drop your message in our group chat. Then I will be glad na to answer all your queries and or clarification. Now, let us answer the following question in line with the discussion that we have done. First, what are the similarities of each period? Second, what are the most impactful contribution these periods made in the literature here in the Philippines? And lastly, what do you think is the significance of history of Philippine literature at this present time? Once again, you may use our comment box to simply indicate your answers. Now, let us have quick quiz na about our lesson. Kindly type hooray if the statement is true and hep hep if the statement is false. And if it is false, kindly tell us or indicate as well what makes it wrong. First, we have ethnic pertains to the characteristics of a particular region or location. Second, literature comes from the Latin word litera. Third, proverbs are considered wise statements. Fourth, Andres Bonifacio, Jose Rizal, and Marcelo H. del Pilar are the propaganda trinity. And lastly, haiku is composed of 4 lines with 7 syllables each line. For your performance task to demonstrate understanding and appreciation of history of Philippine literature, students will take a role of people back in each period to create a timeline. So you will act and show the significance of literature in each period through a video presentation. This will be done by group and this will be graded according to the rubrics that I will be posting in our Google Classroom. Once again, class, you don't need to accomplish the activity face-to-face. Kindly use or utilize effectively the advancement of technology that we have nowadays. If ever that you did not follow my instruction, then I will give extra deduction for your activity. Once again, do it inside your respective houses. Do not meet face-to-face in order to accomplish this activity. If ever you encounter questions, concerns about the activity, feel free to message me personally or using our group chat. To formally end our discussion, kindly send green if you fully understand our lesson as part of our Ticket Way Home, yellow if you still have questions about the lesson, and red if you did not understand the lesson yet. And that would be all for today. Thank you so much for considering this video presentation. See you next time, and God bless.